Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who have the North Node in Aries and or they have the North Node in the first house. And I have the North Node in the first house. So, this certainly is something I can talk about from my own end of things. But I want to give a shout out to a site that I found when I was doing research for this called KarenMBlack.com, and I guess she specializes in evolutionary astrology, karmic astrology, she calls it. But she mentioned this quote. Oh, yeah, here it is from Edgar Cayce. And if you don't know who he is, he was a psychic from the earlier part of the 1900s. Actually, I think it was more like the 30s and 40s. That he was really popular, but I could be wrong about that. But he was one of the first types of psychics, that kind of, spiritual teacher, if you will, that I came in contact with. I remember reading a biography of his, and that kind of planted the seeds for everything that followed in my life. And I'm going to say the quote that I'll just read what she says. She says, clairvoyant Edgar Cayce says that the real value of astrology is understanding our cycles of soul growth, not prediction. And when I read that, I was like, that's exactly how I feel. And so many people, they want to know what's going to happen. First of all, interpretations of transits can vary from one astrologer to the other. We don't know how they will really pan out, these predictions. Sometimes it might be spot on. Sometimes you might be left scratching your head like, what didn't happen here? But one thing that we do know is that we came here for a reason. Well, I hope we think that. And what is that reason? According to Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks, it is for the purpose of expansion. So in order to expand, you have to cover new territory, right? If you are just doing the same old, you're just kind of in the past and you're spinning your wheels. And that's kind of what this is all about, because the South Node is your karmic past. And so when you find out what your natal North Node is in, you will be able to see what the opposite sign is, and that will tell you what your karmic past is. And the purpose of the North Node is for you to live out your soul's mission. And your soul's mission is something I would definitely look at your sun sign as well, because I think it will give you the vehicle to express this. But a lot of times people are mainly focusing on their sun sign. And she puts it here somewhere. She goes, while your sun represents how you achieve and radiate your personality, your north and south nodes represent the growth of your soul. I would definitely say, though, that the sun can be what you aspire to become, even in terms of profession as well. I do believe that that has some value in determining that, and also, your interests in general. But your North Node is going to be very important for evolution. I think this site is very valuable, so I'm going to say it again, KarenMBlack.com, and you just click on the North Node and you have it all written down here, because she really goes into great detail about all of this stuff. So your soul's mission. Now, you come into this lifetime with different talents. And so these are things that you're already really good at. And do you need to develop them? Well, maybe you still, there's still things that you like to do. There's still things that you're good at. Sometimes, though, how she puts it, your habits, she mentions your Achilles heel. And by the way, in Vedic astrology, they call the North Node or the dragon's head, Rahu, dragon's tail, Ketu. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And that is the south node is the dragon's tail, and the karmic residue or influence. And so there's going to be kind of like an imbalance there, where the north node sign and house are going to be areas where you're underdeveloped. And so one of the things that I think is also important to note, this is why I'm talking about the first house, is because what you want to do is you want to look at what sign your north node is in, as well as the house. So if you're listening, if this video attracted you because you know that you are a north node in Aries, also find out what house your north node is in, because that is going to be part of the piece of a puzzle in terms of how you're supposed to express it. So one of the things she talks about is, I'll just read the exact sentence. She says, the more you consciously engage your north node, the more likely you will attract people, events, and situations into your life that will lead to remarkable serendipity and growth. And she goes, by engagement, I mean bring it in consciously, physically. And then she's selling something, soul expression jewelry. I'll give her that plug since she's helping me. But yeah, I mean, even with Aries, the color is red, and that sense of boldness. But yeah, so let's talk about what it means to have the North Node in Aries, or the first house. First of all, we have to know that Aries rules the first house. So that in and of itself, if you have the North Node in the first house, it's going to have that Aries signature to it. In terms of having the North Node in any house in the sign of Aries, you have to find out who you are. Now, this is going to be an identity that has to do with your earthly life, this incarnation. Obviously, we have a spiritual identity as well. And that, that will be connected to your earthly identity, because we have these individual takes on reality, and our it's coming from both angles. But the first house and the sign of Aries are all about the self. And we live in a society that teaches us that we are supposed to not focus on the self. That is narcissistic, that is self-absorbed, that is selfish, those kinds of words. And yet, we are individuals, and we have individual journeys on this earth. There's that saying, you come into the world alone and you die alone. Obviously, we could debate about that in certain aspects, but you know what I mean. We have individual souls, we have individual paths. And when a person is codependent, when a person is too concerned with what other people think, that doesn't help their life, nor does it help the other person's life. A lot of times people don't want somebody to be dependent, to be dependent on them, or to rescue them. They may think that they want that, but they really don't. It really disempowers other people. But it's for somebody who has the North Node in the first house, this is going to be something that you have to learn, because in the past, in past lifetimes, that Libra energy, or that seventh house energy, is something that is very familiar to you. So relationships may have been overly important, overly emphasized. And now you have to break free from that tendency to kind of live your life through somebody else. By the way, another thing that she mentioned in here is that she says that you really become aware of the soul's mission when you're in your 30s, and I'm assuming she's referring to after you have your first Saturn return. That's my guess, because the first Saturn return to me is about individuation, growing up, becoming an adult, because until that point, you still are connected, to your parents, to your family of origin to one degree or another. So being able to learn more of who you are and realize that that may clash with somebody else's need for you to be something else. This is kind of like a very interesting thing that can occur, is that, when somebody is younger and they have this placement with the South Node in the 7th house, they can feel that sense of really wanting relationships. Now, I didn't see anything here. Of course, I was just skimming, but I know that I got involved in a serious relationship, which I am still in, at a very young age as a teenager. So, that kind of thing may be par for the course when you have the North Node in the first house or in Aries, is that you get romantically involved with someone at a very young age, because you're looking for, that's what's familiar to you, that's what you want, or you think you want. And that is the comfort zone that you have to transcend. Aries is a sign that, I was going to say that, it's very blunt. It's very direct. It's not a sign that minces words. Aries is bold. It doesn't care if somebody is, is offended by something. There is a rebellious quality of all fire energy, but Aries takes it to a new level, because Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is the god of war. So it's like being that warrior. And because you're coming from a place with a South Node in Libra or the 7th house, this is something that you need to keep in touch with. Having, manners, being gracious, caring about, diplomacy is a word she uses, which is a great word, because it's not really that common nowadays for people to be diplomatic. A lot of people use truth as a weapon, and that is not great. So, it's kind of like taking the best and leave the rest. So it's certainly not saying that you should abandon any kind of, even being cooperative with other people. It's not like my way or the highway, but not overly doing so, not compromising to your detriment. And if you have codependency issues, really looking at and vowing to eradicate them in this lifetime. One of the things that she says is that in past lifetimes that you may have been like a socialite. She mentions a judge, a socialite. I would say with a judge, even anybody in the legal field, like a lawyer, because Libra is really about that. The 7th house can be about the law. And, it's interesting about the law, because the law involves, the rules of conduct in a society. So the 7th house is the first house that is of others, not just the self. The first 6 houses are at the bottom, and they are considered, and I think it's called the Northern Hemisphere. I think it's like the exact opposite that you would expect, but they're considered the personal houses. And so the 7th house is the first public house. And so, whereas sometimes people are obsessed with these outer laws, we also have to have our personal laws, that define us as an individual. Because think of all the laws that are enacted that we may disagree with, that we don't think are right. And we almost feel like rebelling against them because we feel like our freedom is being taken away. Aries is about freedom. You have to learn how to trust your instincts. You have to learn how to be able to trust your perception of situations. Because in the Libra or 7th house influence may be more about being influenced by others, in your close one-on-one relationships, that you, it's kind of like supersede your own feelings, your opinions, your instincts in favor of another person's. We all know people who are like that, who kind of like, when they get with a new person, they change and they become like that person. They start to think like that person, and they don't seem to have a core self. That's what the North Node in the first house or North Node in Aries is all about. And being indecisive, that's shadow side of Libra. Being able to be alone and stand alone. I'm thinking of a Sun in Libra person I know who told me once, I don't like to be alone. And I was thinking to myself, first of all, I thought that was crazy because I love being alone. I have the Sun in Sagittarius. I love being alone. But there again, that's a fire sign. So, but I have the North Node in the first house. But but living alone, that might be where some people, they can be alone, but living alone might be something else. Who knows? But the thing is that this person I'm talking about now lives alone. And I think this is ultimately so helpful in getting to know oneself fully. So one of the things she says is take a stand, start something, love yourself. These are the things to do. And this is, to me, the warrior energy. And one of the things, when I'm thinking specifically of like Sun in Libra or Mars in Libra, Venus in Libra, sometimes what can happen is that when somebody has these inner planets in Libra, they have a tendency, did I say Libra? Aries is what I mean. When they have, the Sun in Aries or Mars in Aries, and they have some of these inner planets in Aries, that they tend to be combative in one way or the other. They tend to start fights. They're argumentative if it's Mercury in Aries. They just, the moon in Aries, they create drama in life. And this is because this is misuse of this energy. The best use of this energy is fighting for an underdog, fighting for a just cause. But it's also not being blinded to the truth, because Libra is one of those signs, which is why I think they go into the law, that can see all sides of an issue. So if you can see all sides of an issue, how can you take a true stand? This does lead to vacillating, as you really don't know what is the right course of action. Aries is very brave and quick thinking and able to take a stand and to defend their positions. And they are willing to have dissent. That is so important. If you're somebody who's afraid of other people's disapproval, then you will stay stuck in that South Node influence, and you won't feel like you're living to your full potential. And that is the ultimate reason why you have to embrace this. So anyway, I hope that that's made sense to you and resonated. If you would like to look further at your life path, I have a life path astrological reading, which looks at career and other, directions in your life, a natal chart interpretation, those kinds of things. The link is below for that. And do check, if you're listening for your sign, check the house, because I'll be doing one of these for every sign house combinations. So thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.